Hello, welcome back. You are listening to the Mets in the UK podcast, your home for Mets content in the UK. You can catch the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and all good podcast hosts. We come to you every week on a Tuesday. You can also find us on all of the socials. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and X. You can find us at Mets in the UK, or you can use the hashtag to get involved, hashtag MITUK. Today's episode, we are back from our winter break to recap everything that's been going on since we last spoke to you all, looking ahead to spring training as well. As you can see, those of you that are watching us on YouTube, I'm joined tonight by Joe. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you very much. Good to be back.
Yes, it's fantastic to be back. Now I've figured out how to use StreamYard again. I'm also joined by Tracey. How are you doing, Trace?
I'm good. How are you, my love?
I am good. Thank you very much. And we are joined by Toria. How are you doing, Tor?
Good, thanks. Happy to see your lovely faces again.
Yes.
Missed you all.
It's been too long. It's been a while.
It has.
So, since we last spoke, a few things have happened with the Mets. We've made a few signings. Last time was around about the time the Mets signed just one Soto, as you do. Since then, we have seen the additions of first baseman Jared Young, right-hand pitcher Griffin Canning. We've also seen left-hand pitcher AJ Minter and third baseman Nick Madrigal. I think I've said that right. We've also seen the return of left-hand pitcher Sean Manaea, the tribal chief, left fielder Jesse Winker, and right-hand pitcher Rin Stanek. The Mets have been busy in the minors as well. I'm not going to go through the list because I counted earlier on Mets transactions. And since signing Juan Soto, they've signed 29 other minor league contracts. And we could be here for a long time talking about that. The one that is of note is a shortstop, Elian Pena, a minor league prospect. He was number 3 on the international prospect list. He's received a $5 million signing on bonus to join the Mets. He is the highest ranked signing the Mets have ever made in this international pool since records began in 2012. Quite the hot prospect. Lots of people saying good things about him. Obviously, it's a prospect. It's no guarantee to work out, but one to keep an eye on in the future. Now, as is always the case, we like to record this. I press the post button, and then within about an hour, the Mets announce something. So at the time of recording on this lovely Tuesday night, the Mets haven't officially announced the return of Pete Alonso. We've all heard it. We've all seen it, but they've not officially announced it yet. So I dare say once I press the post button, the Mets will announce it. He's coming back for another 2 years in Queens. So that's all of the signings and the updates. Lots going on. It's never a dull moment in the Cohen era. Tracey, what are your thoughts on our additions, our signings so far?
I think it's really good to see Stearns and Cohen being really aggressive on the market, going for what they wanted, getting what they wanted, and being really clever about it. Like how Cohen reached out to Pete Alonso through the media on Amazing Day and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to touch on Amazing Day later in the pod. But yeah, of course, Steve Cohen mentioning that the negotiations with Boras were, I believe he said the word was exhausting.
Yeah.
Try and play a little bit of mind games there, but it's worked. It's all good. Toria, what about you? Any thoughts?
I am over the moon to see Jesse Winker back. I just think the energy that he brought last year, I mean, we'll keep it clean, but the housery,
we know what he is.
Yes.
That he brought,
the trolling.
It was just outstanding. So I am over the moon to see him back. I was really hoping that was going to happen. Of course, the tribal chief coming back, he was so solid. I think just immediately having him in that rotation, and just it gives us that continuation. And just maybe a little controversial. I'm actually quite excited to see what Griffin Canning can do. Given the pitching lab, obviously everyone knows that I watch a lot of Angels baseball, so I've seen quite a bit of Canning. I mentioned it previously. He's inconsistent is his problem. He's got some good stuff. So hopefully, if we can get some consistency into him, he could be this year's kind of turnaround package. We had 3 of them last year that we signed, and no one was really expecting much from. I think we can, they know what they're looking for in these starting pitchers, right? So, so they've seen what they like in him. And another return, Stanek coming back, solid, no risk, potentially high reward. Yeah, solid business all round. I'm sure we'll get on to more about Pete shortly, but I have a few thoughts there. But yeah, I think I think it's just been solid business all around. So I'm really pleased with where we're at.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an A on the grade card so far for the Mets off season. Joe, any sort of thoughts on that?
Yeah, Toria says solid, but I agree. I think we've been quite sensible now, aren't we, in how we do things, which is cool. Because obviously Pete coming back's awesome, but also the way they've set up his contract. So obviously he's got loads of motivation to have an amazing season, and then for the Mets, we want him to have a great season, and they've kind of built that into how they've signed him, haven't they, with the 2 years and the opt-outs and stuff, which is cool. And I quite like how we quietly strengthened our bullpen. Like, it's not the most glamorous side of things, is it? But like Stanek and Minter and stuff. Yeah, solid and sensible. I like it.
Yeah, it's definitely a very different Mets in that regard. Just on that Pete deal, those of you that haven't read or heard any of the sort of goings of that, as Joe just said, it's a 2-year deal. There is a player opt-out at the end of the first year. Pete's due to earn 30 million in that first season. It's 24 for the second. I think if we are realistic, everyone expects him to opt out and try again next off season, having another go at a better season production wise. It's worth noting he is, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's 27 or thereabout home runs off taking the record for the Mets with Darryl Strawberry. So it's likely that we're going to, even on his worst year, which was last year, he still hit well over that. So it's fairly likely it's going to happen this year. I hope I've just not jinxed him by saying that. I suppose the main thing with Pete, and my sort of thought on this is it's a big gamble from him, given that we know Vlad Guerrero Jr., who's also first baseman, also likes to hit for power. He's a free agent at the end of this year as well. So there's competition for him at the end of this year in his position. And we kind of saw it from Pete last year, where he didn't really handle the pressure too well. I'm hoping he's going to prove us wrong on that, and we're going to see a different Pete this year. But it's just something to bear in mind that this could go any way over the course of the year. Obviously, we're all happy to see him back, unless, Tori, you've got a different opinion on that.
I am pleased. I am. So if you recall, I was saying at the end of last year, to bring him back, he would need to put his money where his mouth is. Now, the year before, and this is where I think Boris has let him down, right? The year before, he was offered that great deal, and he didn't take it because they wanted to chance it in the market. Obviously, Boris was telling him, you're going to get way more next year. You're Pete Alonso, you're going to have a great year. He didn't have that year. So, of course, they've spent this whole time trying to chase the losses from that deal from last year. That's been the problem. And Boris has lost out on it, and he will have been pushing and pushing and pushing. I mean, when it didn't happen as soon as Soto signed, you'd have thought that would have been the catalyst, right? So who doesn't want to play with Soto? When it didn't happen then, I think we did a pod and I said, I reckon it'll be as late as possible, but before spring training.
Yeah.
You are the oracle, Tori. You're the oracle.
but I think it was because they were trying to push to cut those losses. And Stearns and Cohen have done the right thing. There are people online, give him anything, give him what he wants. No, that's not how it works. They made a poor decision last year, and they're paying for that now. If Pete wants to be a Met, great. We want him to be a Met. I'm chuffed that he's back. Don't get me wrong for a second. I'm really happy that he's back. And by the time that he signed, he was the best available still at that point. So I'm delighted that he's back. I want to see him break the record. I love him to bits. sentimentally. But I don't think that any one player is bigger than the team and the organisation and the future security of the organisation. So I think it's been done brilliantly. I think he should fire Boris. But as you mentioned, next year, you know, he's going to be competing with Vlad and he's going to go through the exact same thing. I said it once, I'll say it again. Next year, Vlad first base, Pete DH in. Happy days. Thank you very much.
Happy days. Happy days.
That's
like
quite
it.
the batting lineup when you throw
Yeah,
in the
please.
likes of Lindor and Soto as well. Joe, any thoughts on Pete you want to add in?
No, I'm glad to see him back, but I agree with what you guys have said. It's going to be, he's got to do it this year. He's got to forget the pressure and just have the season of his life. Because if he wants to make his fortune again when he can, he's got to have a good year. So, and that worked for us. And then we've got the backup of potentially getting Vladdy, in the next year. So yeah, bring it on.
I mean, Trace, is Vlad someone you'd like to see on the Mets?
Yeah, I think he could handle the New York media, which is a big thing about being a Met and playing in New York, and handle the crowd because we're tough sometimes.
Did you say buff or rough?
Tough.
Neither of those things. We're buff.
Yeah. But the whole Pete thing, it's kind of left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. It's just gone on for too long, and I get the impression that it's all come from the Alonso camp, not from the Mets camp wanting and trying to put the deal across. And it feels like the Mets have tried to do everything they can in their power, but still be responsible ownership. And Boras and co have held it up a bit.
Yeah, I almost wonder if a little bit of that is everyone in the league knows the Mets have money, and we've seen players sort of almost use the Mets in previous off seasons to try and get a better deal elsewhere. And I almost feel like maybe they've just decided that enough's enough. You know, we're going to take a stand on this. Someone that everyone sees as being a homegrown player, and we're going to send a message. We're not going to be taken for a ride every time someone wants a contract. And you know, Steve has talked many times about being profitable, sustainable, whatever words you want to use. And I think at some point you've got to do that. You've got to not keep dishing out these mega money contracts. You can't have everyone in every position on a, you know, six-figure, you know, hundreds of millions salary. It just doesn't work like that in baseball. Certainly not with the salary cap. So yeah, I think you're right in that sense, Tracy. You know, it's gone on too long. I think the Mets have definitely come out winners in that sense.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So moving on to other Mets news, kind of linked to Amazing Day where we saw this launched. There's been a couple of uniform changes for next year. So the blue alternate home jersey, the one that was worn a handful of times last year, seems to have gone. It's not officially been confirmed yet. However, there's rules in MLB where you are allowed 4 jerseys plus your City Connect. Obviously, the pinstripes are going nowhere. The black jersey doesn't seem to be going anywhere. The players seem to enjoy Blackout Friday. They're not going to get rid of the grey road jersey, so it kind of leaves the blue alternate to be the one to go. What's happened is the Mets have now brought in a new alternate jersey, but this one is for on the road. It's blue. It's got the New York script from the 1987 jersey on it. It's a pullover, which is controversial in the sense of the collar on it. It's not to everyone's taste. We know Keith Hernandez does not like the 1987 script. He's been very clear about that in the past.
Uh-oh.
Alongside that has also sat a change to the grey road jersey. Arguably, before the change, the best road jersey in baseball. And that's not Mets bias. I think it is just one of the nicest ones that's out there. They've removed the piping on the front of the jersey, and the sides and the collar have now been replaced with kind of a weird pinstripe detail that is reminiscent of the 86 Mets. It's like blue with an orange bit down the middle. Same with the trousers. It looks very nice. I've done a really bad job of describing these. If you've not seen the pictures,
That's great.
Go and see them online. The blue road alternate was shown off at Amazing Day. It looks much better on the players, I think, than it did in the renders that got leaked and that appeared online. Grey road jersey to be confirmed. We get to see that modelled by anyone. Or I'm sure we will when spring training starts. What are the thoughts on the changes? I know some people are not happy with the removal of piping and pullovers and all that. The traditionalists are not happy. But what are the thoughts? We'll start with you, Trace.
I love them. They're
Yeah.
retro, they're cool, they're something different, and I love them. Probably will be buying.
Easily pleased.
Do you have a
Yes.
preference over the two?
The blue with the orange script, I think I will probably see if I can get one when I go opening week.
Okay.
Nice.
Joe?
I think the blue will be a grower. I would have preferred proper vests, so you get, the old arms out and all that. I tell you what, Keith will like. I was reading an article about on the road jerseys which they've relaunched. That it's going to be big letters again, and it's going to go back to the heavier materials. And the players will be happy because they're going back to made-to-measure pants. Because last year they brought back just 4 types, and that caused a lot of stuff, shit, didn't it? So that'd be good. But so getting the big text back will be cool. But I think they're gonna the white pinstripes are not being updated yet. Now they're doing that next year in terms of the letters and stuff and the materials.
I believe I read that all of the player names on the back are going back. It's not just the new jerseys, it's league-wide. They're going back to what it was before, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so a lot of improvements. I'll just have to spend more money, but
Which one's your preference of the two, Joe?
I like the grey. Big fan of the grey.
Okay, and Tom?
I like them. I think the blue one, I might have preferred it if the script was filled in, perhaps with the orange. I'd seen some renders with grey. I mean, that works, but I think like the orange would have been nice. I like that it's pullover, which is unusual for me because I'm normally quite a traditionalist. But I tend to find like I have to order like a size up in button over jerseys because sometimes they don't particularly fit well.
We've had this discussion before.
We have plenty of times. Whereas I'm hoping that a pullover might fit a little better for us ladies. So it's just that, but I quite like it. I think it's just going to be easy to chuck on and a bit more kind of wearable away from the ballpark. Like I wear t-shirts and hoodies and stuff away from the ballpark, but generally I only wear my jerseys at the games. Whereas I think a pullover one I'm more likely to wear when I'm kind of out and about. The greys I love it. I love the new piping. I really like it. So the blue could be better, but I'm happy with it overall. Grey is definitely my preference.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement there. I prefer the grey.
Sorry, and I do wish they'd have gone back to the 23 black. I like the black.
White outline.
Yeah, I just prefer the 23 one. I'm still going to end up getting a black because I was putting it off last year because I was hoping they might go back because I really like the black. But
Yeah, I mean, if you look across the rest of the league, a lot of the other teams have sort of had similar updates in recent years. I know the Guardians, theirs was as part of a rebrand, but the Twins, they've had similar sort of designs. Nike seem to be favouring these flatter, less busy, less colours kind of look. I don't think it's anything the Mets have necessarily done to try and be controversial or different. I think it is just a case of Nike's moving everyone to sort of fit this pattern and fit their mould. But yeah, can't wait to see them on the field, and I'm sure they'll look amazing on when they go on sale. They're not yet on sale yet. That's still to be confirmed as well. Although the spring training hats, whilst we're talking about fashion, how good are they? They seem to be sold out everywhere. Can't seem to get hold of those.
I'm not so fussed. Have you seen?
Controversy.
Lashes. I mean, yeah, I can't.
I just don't like Mr. Met in the shades.
I've got Mr. Met, but it's even better than that one. I can't even think the right one.
Well, yes, exactly like yours, Joe. I prefer yours. I just can't. I can't imagine me wearing it, so that's really selfish of me.
That's fine. I'll wear it instead.
I can't see me wearing it. I liked last year's. Related to the jerseys, have you seen the Orioles release? They're going with orange.
Is that real? That's not real, is it?
me it's fake.
Please
I'm
tell me it's
hoping
not
it's
real
fake. I'm
because I
really
saw
hoping
that.
it's fake.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
Yeah,
that is just.
but
it
that
looks
is
like prison yard orange. Is the
oh,
only way I can think to
really.
describe it.
Wow.
I like their orange, but with the black,
Yeah.
it doesn't look
Too
black
much.
with. Let's hope it's fake. Sorry,
Yeah.
just a bit of a tangent.
Okay. Fingers crossed for O's fans on that one. Speaking of the fans, amazing day. How great did that look? You know, it was lovely that the Mets have brought that back. A whole ton of players made an appearance, past and present. The people in attendance all seem to have a great time, opportunities to meet the players, take photos. From what I understand from people I've spoken to that have gone, players were really just sort of generous with their time, willing to stop for people, take selfies and chat to people, which is lovely to see. Obviously, the Mets have had their unofficial fan fest for the last few years, so it's nice to have an official one from the team, sort of in line with some of the other teams. Nothing particularly controversial to report from the day, other than Cohen's sort of exhausting conversation about Pete Alonso. We didn't see any new players. There was no special announcements per se. There were a few absentees. Much of the Yankee side of town tried to make out about Juan Soto not being there. Amazing day. He was stuck somewhere in Central America, could not get a flight, nothing to do with not wanting to be there, despite how the Yankees have tried to make it out.
Sour persons.
No, it was weather related.
Yeah, just sour grapes. That's all it is. But yeah, hopefully we will see the return of Amazing Day. Hopefully it'll become an annual tradition for the Mets and for our great fans over the other side of the pond.
They did something similar last year, but like kind of, if I remember, it was like, or was it last year or the year before? But it was more like dotted around town, wasn't it? They had kind of like bits and pieces going on throughout the city rather than something concentrated at City Field. I thought that concept last time was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts on Amazing Day, or are we good?
Could have flown us over, couldn't they?
Would have been, yeah,
would have been great. Next year, guys, please.
Yeah. Thanks,
You know,
Uncle Steve.
Yeah, we don't. Just economy's fine. Not fun.
Yeah.
But
little. I can go in the hold somewhere. It's fine.
You can go my case. You can
go
go
in the overhead lockers, Tom.
Exactly. But yeah, you need your.
Can you imagine trying to
Stop bullying her.
So can you imagine trying to get her up there though? It's just that little.
It's just.
Oh, bless her. Right, leave her alone.
Moving on. Spring training is around the corner. Obviously, today is the 11th of February. Tomorrow is the official pitchers and catchers participate.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. Carry on, Tom.
No, it's okay. That's fine. Tomorrow is the first official spring training workout for pitchers and catchers. We've seen a few of them report over the last few days. Just before going on air this evening, we've had confirmation that Jose Butto has now been moved into a reliever role. They're hoping to get sort of 45 out of him in a long reliever, the Trevor Williams role, as it became to be known. That's now going to be the Jose Butto role. Will remain to be seen, but I'm happy for him. You know, he did a great job there last season, and happy to see him back on the mound. Whilst we're also talking about pitchers as well, word is the Mets are working on a 6-man rotation. Obviously, with Senga coming back from injury, not a lot of obvious starters depth-wise, and the conversion of a reliever into a starter, I believe that's a sensible role for the Mets. Other dates to look out for is February 17th is the first official full squad workout. Again, we've seen some players over there already doing their thing, but the first official full squad workout is on the 17th. The first game is on Saturday, the 22nd of February. It is a UK-friendly 6 p.m. start. It is on SNY. It is available to watch. The Mets are playing the Astros at Clover Park. get in. There is, on the 16th of March, the spring breakout prospect game versus the Nationals, where you can catch the likes of Elian Pena and the future of the Mets if you're into that kind of stuff. And the final spring training game is March 24th against the Yankees. Most of these are UK friendly start times, which we love to see. Other bit from spring training is the wild comment from Francisco Alvarez that the Mets have the best lineup in baseball. So, very quickly, thoughts on spring training and Francisco Alvarez's comments, Joe?
Oh, okay, he's correct. Easy, fine. Spring training, Tracey will probably know this. Historically, I've not really been a massive fan of spring training. Been a bit mean about it in the past, but I'm actually quite excited about it this year.
Why were you not a fan previously?
I don't know. I don't know. It's like football friendlies. I never could quite get into it, but then I was never really watching them the right way, if you know what I mean. You know all the changes, but that's kind of the point of them, right? So yeah, I've got over that now. I'm quite excited. I want to see some of the new players in those shiny new outfits and those caps, and I'll be happy.
Okay.
Very good. Tracey?
Looking at the possible lineup that SNY posted, I believe it was late last week, it looks really good. You've got sort of normal foundation players. You've got Jose Siri playing in centre field. Vientos back at third, of course. Let's hope for more improvements from him. Of course, you've got Soto in the lineup. It's just an exciting year to be a Mets fan again.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's not forget as well, we've got a few players coming back from injury from last year as well. So Ronnie Mauricio should, fingers crossed, be making a return. Tor, any thoughts on spring training and Francisco Alvarez?
I'm just so excited. I can't wait. I'm the complete opposite to Joe. I love spring training. Mostly
I like it now. I like it now. It's fine. I'm over it.
I think not was it last year or the year before was the first time really that they started doing some night games, which I agree with. I think they should be doing some spring training night games. But for years and years and years, spring training has always been like day games, UK friendly, like 3 weeks solid of being able to just watch baseball every day. And it's amazing. And I love the vibe. I love that we get to see the new faces. I love to see the youngsters coming through, because, you know, some of these guys that we'll see over the next few weeks, we might not then see for months, but they could be a guy that comes up in, you know, August, September and has some stellar impact, right? We might get an injury. Like, I like to see, I like to keep an eye on the minors, and I like to see the youngsters. And so I think for me, it's like, I mean, I'm ready for baseball as soon as the World Series. So the sooner it gets back for me, the better. And yes, we have an outstanding lineup. And Tracey touched on it. I am delighted that we're going to keep Vientos at third, because I did not want any of that work to be undone. That's not to say that I don't expect him to get some reps at first. We'll probably see him there at some point over spring, just as cover. But he did so well and made so much improvement last year that I'm delighted to see that he's going to continue to grow there.
Fantastic.
We'll try not to get too drunk on the first spring training game.
The only way to enjoy baseball.
Oh,
Yes.
come on. No.
We won't get upset if we lose the first game, though. We'll be sensible.
Oh, no, not at all.
No, we're Mets fans. It's all or nothing, I'm afraid.
I'll be crying. The season's over.
Well, if you listen to some of Mets Twitter, it probably will be.
Probably.
Yeah. And on that note, that brings a close to our first episode of 2025. Thank you ever so much for joining, Joe, Tracey, and Toria. You can find all of us online at MetsInTheUK. If you have enjoyed this episode, why not give it a share, give it a repost, a comment, a like, thumbs up, all that good stuff, so we can bring more amazing Mets content to people around the UK, Europe, and beyond. Shout out to all our regular listeners, as always. Thank you for rejoining us after our winter break. We will be back same time next week on Tuesday to talk all things Mets. So all that leaves us to say is,
Let's go Mets!
Let's go Mets!
Let's go Mets.